what is it, January the 5th or the 4th, January the 4th?
4th.
Most people that had made New Year's resolutions have already broke them, 4 days after the 1st. And that's kind of like, a diet is something we go on in order to go off of. And a resolution we make so we can break. But what we're going to talk about today, and I'm not saying everyone that makes a New Year's resolution breaks them, but that's kind of what we hear sometimes. So what we want to talk about today is self-care, and that self-care is not selfish. And it's, when we take care of ourselves, we have more to offer our families, our friends, ourselves, everyone. And so when we take care of ourselves and put ourselves first, it's, like I said, we have more to offer other people and ourselves. And it's much more than, taking a bubble bath or getting a massage or manicures or pedicures, although those are good things to do and they make us feel good. What we're going to talk about today is deeper than that. It's more kind of in all areas of our lives. Just, it is the first of the year. It's about kind of taking an inventory of where we are, because we are made up of all different facets of our life, and those things, I think that they need to be balanced, and sometimes we can quickly get out of balance, particularly coming out of the holidays, so people who suffer from substance abuse, even in recovery, sometimes do not take good care of themselves. A lot of times they are loaded down with guilt of their past, or for whatever reason, yes, they'll, go to meetings and work the steps, and that is absolutely essential to staying, clean and sober from any addiction. But sometimes even substance abuse people in recovery don't, like I said, don't take good care of themselves. They overwork, try to make up for the past. They try to overdo everything or underdo. They don't do as much, and they don't eat properly, and the list goes on. So we're just going to take a little inventory this morning. In writing this, I've already taken mine, and to see some things that I certainly could improve on. We strive for progress, not perfection. We aim for perfection, but we settle for a little bit of progress along the way. And that aiming for perfection is what gets us in trouble. Or trying to be perfect. That is part of what self-care is not, is when we have that perfectionism. And perfectionism, what we say, is the highest form of self-abuse. So there's 24 hours a day. You've heard me say this a lot, 24 hours a day. And break it down, there's 8 hours work, 8 hours play, and 8 hours rest. And you've heard my claims, and one of my claims was work addiction. And it wasn't just a little bit of work addiction. I don't do anything a little bit. I go whole hog. And I was working 70, 80, 90 hours a week. There is no balance in that. And so today for me, balance is to work 8 hours, or not more. Now, sometimes when we're doing intensives, that's all I'm doing is intensives and family week. Luckily they still let me work over at the center. They haven't barred me yet. And I get to work 2 weeks out of the month, which I love it. It keeps my brain active, and I feel like I do make a contribution, but it is my life's work, and I love it. And that keeps my brain active. My point is, sometimes I'll work during those 2 weeks out of the month. I may work more than 8 hours a day, but also on those 2 weeks that I'm working, I don't do anything else. I don't do one other thing but work and come home and rest. So, and that was so different before I came to the program. In that, I weighed almost 300 pounds. I had a house full of children. I kept a spotless house. You could eat off the floors. Don't know why anybody'd want to, but I kept them clean enough just in case somebody wanted to eat off those floors. I was a work addict even as a housewife and a mother. I overdid everything because I didn't feel good enough, and my self-esteem was so low. And I thought if I did enough and accomplished enough, that I would get praised, and then that would make me feel good about myself. But it didn't work. It didn't. It just wore me out and made me sick. And, by the grace of God, I found my way to the program. And during those days, too, I was very sad. I was a rager. That's another claim, the grace of God that God has removed from me. But I had all this rage on the inside from childhood, and I would, put that on the people I loved the most, and that was my children. So I was pretty much a mess when I came to the program in the early days, October of 1968, when I made my way to Al-Anon. And I was so shy and so bashful, I couldn't say my name. I couldn't introduce myself. They didn't know who I was, what I was, anything. They just kept telling me, keep coming back, keep coming back. And I got the feeling that they were all a very chummy group, that they were all best friends. And, looking back, they were, but they'd gone to meetings together for years. And, what that told me is that I didn't belong there either. I felt left out. But there was a woman there that had just moved there from Phoenix, Arizona. And this is why we need to suit up and show up and see what God has in store for us. And that woman had only been to that meeting a couple of times. And turned out she was on the service level, on the national level, and she just moved to Abilene. Her husband was in the Air Force, and I guess she saw the pitiful state that I was in, and she came up and said, do you have a sponsor? And I said, no. And she said, well, now you do. And she gave me her phone number and asked me to call her. And so what that woman did for me is that was the beginning for healing. And she did far more, and she wasn't anybody's therapist. She was a member of Al-Anon family group, and she was in good recovery. And that's why I recommend anyone, I don't care who you are, if you're an alcoholic, drug addict, compulsive overeater, whoever, I know that you know someone that drinks, and that would qualify you for Al-Anon. Everyone in a 12-step program would qualify for Al-Anon family group, because when you're working with addicts, those issues that come up while you're sponsoring addicts, those are Al-Anon issues. So anyway, that's a plug for Al-Anon. But anyway, what that woman did for me, she helped me on all of these levels that I want to talk about in some small way. She helped me with everything. Now, did I make it a complete, turnaround? I didn't. It was little by slow. But I enjoy my grown children today will talk about the difference that Al-Anon made. And they didn't always like it, because I changed and I became responsible and began to, have them to be more responsible for the rooms and things like that. So some of the things that I'm going to tell you came from Alice. And I'll be grateful for Alice for eternity. I hardly ever got out of the house, and we lived on Buffalo Gap Road. And I remember one day, and I had my youngest baby, my baby girl, who's 54 now. Anyway, she was a bed baby, little baby. And I remember Alice came by one day, and of course I was washing and cleaning and all of those things that already gotten the kids off to school. And she just rang the doorbell one day, and she said, what are you doing? And I said, well, and I made my list to her. And she said, well, come on, get Christy and let's go for a ride. Well, that was just so uncalled for. I mean, me go for a ride when I had all this work to do. And she gave me the Alice look, and I got in the car. And I had never been in any part of the county that I lived in, farther than where I lived and where the school was. And she took me up in the mountains and the little hills. Anyway, that's how Alice was. She did a lot of things for me in these areas that I hadn't even intended to talk about Alice, but I guess maybe that's a God deal. There is nothing any more important and a more healthy, I mean, not all, but one of the best relationships that we can ever have is sponsor to sponsoree. And that works on both sides, having a sponsor and then sponsoring other people. Okay, so I'm going to start with these areas of our lives. And physical wellness, now we are bombarded, and Lord have mercy, by ads for every kind of weight loss that you can imagine. Not only on Facebook, but TV and everything. So physical wellness is really important, and to keep in order for our bodies to function, in the proper manner. And one of the things is to practice good eating habits. And of course, I work in an eating disorder unit, and we work with people who haven't done that, and I didn't do that. My eating habits was eat everything in sight, and I never got enough of anything, but it did kind of help the feelings a little bit. But anyway, it's about proper nutrition, and it doesn't have to be, it's 3 balanced meals a day. If you need snacks in between, if you have low blood sugar or diabetes or whatever, check with your doctor or your dietitian about that. But basically, we need 3 balanced meals a day to function, and need some of all of the vegetables, protein, starch. We need some of all of that. And I'll tell you, the vitamin business would not like us very much if everyone in the United States fed themselves on Shade's food plan, which is made up of from the Heart Association and from the Diabetes Association, just a healthy food plan. If everyone did that, there would be very few people on vitamins. You wouldn't need to be, because you'd be getting all of your vitamins through the food. That's how God intended that to be. But anyway, so good nutrition. And then, and we all know this, but I want to say it again, is exercise. Do something every day to move your body. I was all gung-ho it was, I guess last spring, that I got back to walking, and I walked consistently for 6 weeks. And I did videos of it and engaged y'all into help, walking with me. And then I got sick, and I got very sick, and I couldn't walk. I could walk 3 or 4 steps in here in my living room, and then my kids would want me to sit back down. But nevertheless, I'm well now. I'm good. And so I've started back, and I'm going to start back. I'm promising myself I'm going to start back slow. I don't need to start back like I'm running a sprint, or, I've always could outwalk most anyone, and I don't have to do that. I can just go for a walk, go around a couple of blocks, 3 or 4 blocks. And so join me in doing that, and maybe add a block a day until I'm walking all over Buffalo Gap. But anyway, so it's about taking our health serious, and, and have regular checkups, with the dentist, and regular checkups with your doctor. Those things are important. And I've worked with a lot of addicts in recovery that haven't gone to a physician in years, because they don't feel worth it, or they, for whatever reason, they don't take care of, addicts, people who use any kind of substance, we are the worst in the world about self-care, because when we do get clean and sober and absent, we feel like we've got to make up for lost time. So anyway, I've already said that. Another thing that is very essential is good sleep. Sleep 7 to 8 hours a night. You know, if your bed is uncomfortable, make it comfortable. There's so many things on the market today to make it comfortable. And I love comforters, you know, those white ones that, you know, when you go to those fancy hotels, they have those fluffy white. Anyway, I buy me one every once in a while, and I bought me a new one the other day. I didn't really need it. I had another one, but that just was so soft and fluffy, and it was on sale, and I got it. And I'll tell you, when I lay down at night and I pull that up under my chin, I just feel like I'm floating on a cloud. I could do them a commercial, really. But I thank God every night for my comfortable bed. I mean, for a good bed. As a kid, I did not have a comfortable bed. I slept on a rollerway bed with my sister, and she kicked. And so I don't know what I did to her. I'm sure I kicked her. But anyway, I am grateful for a comfortable bed. And I've got 3 or 4 things on top of my mattress. Anyway, I just float into sleep. And that hadn't always been so. I used to not sleep. That was part of my addiction, because I would stay up at night. I'd get my kids in bed, and sometimes my husband would be out drinking, and other times he'd be down at the store working, and I would eat, and I'd stay up all night and eat, and I'd stay all night, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. There was nothing to do that. And then taking laxatives all night. Anyway, I barely maybe lay down and get a couple of hours sleep before I had to get the kids up. If I got 5 hours sleep, I was sleeping a long time. And, you know, that's not good for the body. I wore myself out. And then I'd get right up and I'd work all day. I was driven. And then when I started working outside the home, when I started being a counselor and program director of a treatment center in town, I worked that way there, and I was still practicing my eating disorder. And I still, you know, some nights I wouldn't go to bed, and I'd just go in and take a shower. I would have eaten and practiced bulimia all night. I'd go in and barely have the energy to take a shower. I'd take a shower and go back to work, and then drink throughout the day many, many, many cups of coffee. So I know how it feels not to take care of myself, and today I take very, very good care of myself. And you know, and I'll joke about it, but I'd really like to live to be 100. And the shape that my body's in, there's no reason. I mean, I'm in excellent health, so there's no reason why I cannot live longer. So anyway, then number 2 thing is social. We are created, God created us to be social beings, you know, and to be connected. Misty, there's something right there. And those of us in 12-step programs, we have it, we have a built-in community. I get a meditation every day from one of the beloved members of the fellowship, and I think it was yesterday, the meditation was on how grateful we are, or all should be, for our community and the loving community. But we don't have to just stop with our 12-step groups. You know, a lot of us get back into church. You know, there's connection there. It's anywhere where you can make a healthy connection. You can make a lot of connections in Abilene, Texas. There is a lot of stuff going on anytime in Abilene. And I go to them to support whatever function it is. It's usually a fundraiser. And you go in, I'm an observer of people, and I'm not being critical. I'm just telling you what I observed. You go in, people are so friendly, you know, they're all dressed up. We get in, you know, whatever the attire is, if it's cocktail dresses or if it's, business casual, or if it's Western, we're all decked out the way the invitation told us to be. And we all look pretty good, and we're having fun, and we're talking and all. Not talking a lot, but talking and visiting. And then I watch everybody go into where the dinner is going to be held. And of course, there's drinks served. A lot of times there'll be a bottle of wine on the table, depending on who bought the table. Liquor is flowing freely. Sometimes whoever I go with and myself, of course, I'll look around, and I'm an observer of people. We're some of the few people that are not drinking. And then I get into my judging. There's a difference between judging and being, and having a judgment call. I think I slip over into judging, because I'll look around at those people that I've seen at church on Sunday, and they're just in there drinking and all. Anyway, that comes under the heading of none of my business. So, but anyway, there are lots of places to go and be social where there is no alcohol and drugs, and just because if there is alcohol served doesn't mean that we have to partake. And sometimes people just will insist, particularly if they've had quite a few, they really want you to try their particular whatever drink they're drinking. But it's, find people to be social with. We don't need a lot of people in our lives. I have lots of acquaintances, wonderful people. I had a birthday party, and there was I think about 150 people there. It was wonderful. And I love and adore every person there. And I call just about every person there one of my best friends. They are my best friends. But I don't see some of them. Some of them I hadn't seen for 20 years. So what we can have a lot of acquaintances and a lot of friends, but each of us need about 3 to 5 people in our, what I call our safety net, our social circle, our safety net of people. And usually those are people from the program, people that we can call. That usually includes our sponsor, that can include healthy adult children. That safety net of people that when we're with them, we feel taken care of, and then we take care of them. I don't mean, anyway, taken care of. And, when we're in need, those are the people that's going to come to our needs. So be social. And like I said, have 3 to 5 people that you're really close to, that you could call in a moment's notice and they'll be there. I really have a lot more than that, but I do have some people that I see every single solitary day. I get the greatest joy. And, my children, my 3 daughters live close to me. And people think we just stay all gommed up together all the time. We really don't. We have to make time to see each other. But now that I'm working and we're working together over at the center, every day at lunch is our day to, I always tell the clients that when they're the therapists are at my house, if y'all think we're talking about you, you're right, we are. Because that's our time to staff clients, is in the middle of the day. They come over, we have lunch together, and we staff clients. And I feel so close to those therapists, and, and then I, staff with Misty. And so that's a connection. And it takes time to build relationships like, this 3 to 5 people that I'm talking about. Misty and I, we could write a book called Tuesdays with Misty, but somebody's already got that title, but they have It's Tuesday with Maury instead of Tuesdays with Misty, or Misty and Minnie. But every Tuesday, we have our Tuesday out. Now, we run errands. We, I'll do maybe get our nails done, something like that. But we spend time together. And love, it's not spelled Love. Love is spelled Time. If you really love someone, you're going to take the time to spend with them if you really love them. And when I think back over the people at my birthday party, many of them are from out of town, but there's one right here that I've been trying for several months to get with. And either her schedule at work doesn't work with mine or whatever. But anyway, it is, we have to make time. Time spells love for each one. And, you know, I've told you this before, that I read in a Reader's Digest journal when I was 10 years old, while I was sitting in a doctor's office waiting for my mother. And this is something that has stayed with me forever. And it said, the way to be happy and live a happy life is to have someone to love you, and something to look forward to. And as a little kid, bless my heart, I started finding little things. You know, my mom was very sick. She would have been a good mother if she could have, but she was just eat up with addiction. But as a little kid, I'd find something to do to look forward to, you know, go ride my horse, go walk around the block, and or do something. But anyway, so someone to love you, and something to look forward to. And then number 3 is intellectual. Just as the body needs exercise, our brains need exercise. One of the things that I do, and I would like to tell you, I work those crossword puzzles and all. I don't. I have never liked things like that. I've never liked puzzles. My kids love them. They do them, and they're whizzes at them. My daughter Kim is into it. She's loved Lego since the day they came out. But she's graduated now to adult Legos, and now she's making flower arrangements, putting those arrangements together. And right now she's working on orchids. And they are 5 million pieces, but she sits there at night and we'll put on a series. We do not sit around and just surf. We don't just look at anything. We'll have a plan something. Right now it's 1823 and they can't make them quick enough for us to watch. But anyway, we'll have something on TV, but she's sitting there doing those Legos, and there's 5 million pieces. But now she's got the stems and she's got leaves, and one of these days there's going to be flowers on there. And I asked her, I said, Kim, why are you doing that? And she said, because it helps my brain. And I thought, and she said, then it helps my coordination with my hands. And of course it does, you know, of course it does. But I don't like things like that. If you like things like that, please do it. What I do to stimulate my brain is I read. I read anything I can pick up. I've done that since I was a little girl. And my kids always, you know, tease me because I always have something to share with them that I've read. Some, you know, but I love to read. And I'll have a book right now. I have a book in 3 different rooms of the house started. And I keep up with them, you know. They're novels, or I will tell you, I don't read self-care books anymore, except the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous and meditation books. I spent years reading self-help books, and it helped. And so now I'm better. And I read for entertainment or to learn something. And if a good self-help book comes out, absolutely, I'll read it. But I want to tell you about a book. I'm going to get Misty to go get that little orange book. I've read one of the best books, and we need to tell people what we're reading, I think, particularly if you know a reader. I mean, I'll be seeing someone reading somewhere. It's on the bar in there. I'll be seeing someone reading somewhere, and I'll ask them what they're reading, or I'll ask them what they have been reading. Or that is one of the questions that I ask people when I'm at a social. What are you reading? Because I like to read and I want to know good books. My friend Ashley was here a couple of weeks ago, and by the way, keep her in your prayers. She has had COVID since the day she left here, and she's still really ill. But her man friend, her boyfriend, whatever you want to call him, the love of her life, lives in Switzerland. And he texted and said, we need to get this book to read. And then Misty told me, and then Martin told us. And he read it in a foreign language, because he is a foreigner. He read it, but he said it was in print in the States now. So of course I got Kim to order me one, and I just finished it. It's called Tasting Sunlight. And if you want to read a book about friendship and hardship, this is about, and I won't give you the whole thing, but it's called Tasting Sunlight. And it's about a 17-year-old anorexic that ran away from a clinic. Oh, that sounds familiar. Anyway, and where she wounds up, and it takes place in France, but it's in English. It's a wonderful, marvelous book, and it's a short read, and it will uplift your day. So ask people what they're reading. And that one that I think we all have read, I don't know, but the movie's out now, is the where the crawdads sing. Oh, that's a beautiful book. So that's what I do to keep my mind sharp, is I read and I visit with people, and I don't do all the talking. I really don't. I love to listen to people. I love to know what they're doing. What are they up to? What's something new maybe they're using to wash with, or whatever. I just I love people, and I love to talk to people. And that is my puzzle that I put together. I don't do those other puzzles, but do something to keep your brain alive. Exercise your brain as much as you do your body. And then number 4 is vocational. It is about work, and life is too short to be doing work that you don't like to do. You know, if you're doing it just to make a living, and if you've gotten good education for that, who knows, you might need to stick with it until you retire. I don't know. But if you're into looking for a second career, or if you're young and you're wanting to change careers, go into something that you love to do. And you've heard this saying, if you love what you do, you're never going to work another day in your life. When I quit getting excited to walk over to that corner and work over there at the treatment center, that's when I'll quit. I get an excitement because I love to go work with clients. And then since I'm not over there every day, and there's days that between me going over there, I see the change in them. Every time I go over there, I see a change, a change, a change. And I am grateful to God every day that I get to work in a vocation that I love and that I can make a difference in. And that's what I encourage people to do. Get a job where you can make a difference. But on the flip side of that, you can make a difference just about anywhere, any job that you're on, you can make a difference. I'll tell you, go to Walmart and look at those, and they're usually older people that are greeters. Some of them, I love to stand and talk to them, and some of them don't know how to greet very well. I would make a good greeter. Misty would make a good greeter. And so what we've decided is when we retire, we're going to go to Walmart and be the greeters. And I think we'll be some of the best greeters they've ever had. And some of them are good greeters. Now, I will have a little trouble getting those baskets untangled. So I'll let Misty untangle the baskets and I'll just greet people. But I'm making fun of this, but we have to make fun. And if you're if you're employed somewhere where the atmosphere is not good, change it. It is so powerful. One person can change the atmosphere, and you don't have to get up and preach and point your finger or anything. Your attitude can change, and become a leader. Even if you're you don't have to be the boss, but you can be a leader, an emotional leader, a leader where, if everyone in that job doesn't like it, you might want to look for another job. But anyway, until then, practice in there how you might change that atmosphere by changing your outlook, and what you can do to change that environment. And be the change that you want in the workplace. Don't wait till someone else change. You be the change that you want. And then if you want to change careers, this goes along with your brain also, go back to school. I've got a friend, and she was on a couple of weeks ago. She's one of my new best friends. She lives in San Francisco, and she was here visiting Misty, and so she was on Tennie Talks with me one day. She's in her 70s. I don't know for sure how old she is. She's not as old as I am. But she's gone back to school to get her master's degree. They left here from Dallas, flew back to San Francisco, hurriedly packed, changed and packed bags, and then drove. I believe they drove. They flew. Correct me. They flew to St. Louis for her to do a special 2-week school program. She's getting her master's degree, and then she'll probably go on and get her doctorate degree. They're trying to get her to. That keeps the brain alive. I keep thinking I'm going to go to one of the colleges and audit a class, but I haven't found time yet. I'd rather be over there working than audit a class. I'd probably go to sleep anyway. So number 5, work is one thing, and 8 hours, 8, 9 hours, don't overdo it, 40 hours a week. We're the only country, I don't know, only country, but Europe, they don't work 40-hour weeks. And, they have holidays. Do you know they have month-long holidays? They call them holidays, not vacations, holidays. And when I've been over there in Europe visiting, they're shocked that we get a week vacation or 2-week vacation. They get month-long, 2-month-long holidays. So I guess we're going to have to move to Europe. I don't know. But anyway, number 5 is hobbies and play. Play will change your life. Play, and have some kind of play that can change your brain, and also it can bring you a lot of happiness. Hobbies and finding a way to play can change the quality of your life. In the scale of how you would rate your life. How you're going to rate your life today is how much do you play? How much enjoyment do you get out of playing? How much fun do you have? That is one of the ways to scale how happy you are. And I'm seeing a woman in a pink fuchsia blouse with blonde hair, and her name is Bonnie. And I see her all the time on Facebook where she's traveling. And she worked hard, as a flight attendant for many, many, many years. And I make up, she's got good retirement, and she travels. And not only does that, but she'll do challenging things where she travels. Don't you, Bonnie? Shake your head, yes. She's what I want to be when I grow up. I want to be just like Bonnie. And sometimes I've noticed, not seldom, sometimes you'll travel by herself. And that is to make yourself be good company for yourself. Abraham Lincoln said, we're about as happy as we make up our minds to be. Abraham Lincoln said that. We are as happy as we make up our minds to be. Now, history tells us that this is a man that suffered, he suffered profoundly from depression and anxiety. And they didn't have the medication and the things to do today for anxiety and depression as they did back then. But he gave us this quote, we're about as happy as we make up our minds to be. And so he managed to be happy even in the midst of mental illness. So figure out what makes you happy. And when you it doesn't take long to get a full life, and you don't have to be running around doing a lot of things to be happy. It's simple, can be very simple things. One of the things I've already mentioned, I love spending time with Missy, but I love spending time with my adult children. I have earned that privilege and that right. I paid the price because I raised 4 teenagers. And so now I get the privilege of getting to be around 4 pleasant adults. And I just soon be around them as any of my friends. And I love all my friends. But we go on road trips. They'll say, pick a Saturday. Christy Kay, she's the youngest, but she's always been kind of a leader. She'll call and say, y'all want to go on a road trip? We'll pile in there in one of the SUVs, and we'll go on a day trip, maybe a Saturday or Sunday. Or we'll just spend an hour together. Or Karen always buys us some kind of a gift. She gives it to Spencer, but it's really for the family. It's some kind of fun game. And we played that the other day, and we need to play it again. We need to make an appointment and play it again before Spencer goes back to school. But that playtime is very important, to notice, to be happy. I mean, actually, to be happy. All right. Let me see where I am now. We've talked about the physical, we've talked about the social, we've talked about intellectual, vocational, hobbies and play. And now what I want to say is, I want to ask you, another thing before I ask you that, I want to, I'll ask you now. I'm going to ask you these 3 questions. What makes you happy? And I want you to write down in just a few minutes. I want some of you to share what makes you happy. That's a simple question. Write it down. What makes you happy? And another thing, when was the last time you felt capable and talented? See, this goes along with playing games and having fun. When was the last time you felt capable of doing something and talented enough to do it? Question 2. And number 3, how might you be able to create joy in your life? That is so simple. How might you be able to create joy in your life in this moment? Because this moment is all we have. Right now is the moment of power. We don't have any other moment that we're guaranteed. We have this moment. So those 3 questions. What makes you happy? When's the last time you felt capable and talented? And how might you be able to create joy? The definition of joy is the enthusiasm of God. And what that brings us up to is spiritual. And spiritual is, without saying, the most important part of our lives as far as is recovering people from any form of substance abuse. Spiritual is the solution. There is no other solution. I'm sorry to tell you, if you're looking for another solution, this is it. It is to stay abstinent, clean, and abstinent from all addictions, and that includes process addictions. And you do that by going to meetings and working the 12 steps, get a sponsor, and it's where spiritual health is where we exist far beyond the physical. It's where we exist beyond the physical. And it gives a sense of meaning and purpose. Spirituality does. And Misty and I, it just takes a few minutes, folks. You don't have to stay all day. Maybe you want to, and sometimes I do. I love that. I love to sit, and I don't do it as much as I did during my hippie days, but I really like that. That time of just meditation and that humming. And it will be like medication. I mean, good meditation is just hum and hear your own voice. And so because spirituality will give us and give our life a sense of meaning and purpose, and that's what we all need. And then the last thing is emotional or feelings. Guess what? We all have feelings. Here at Shays, we make them very simple for you. A lot of people, particularly an addict that has some form of spiritual, or substance abuse, has a hard time identifying feelings. So we give you 7 feelings to choose from. But we have emotional feelings, and we get emotional, and those are feelings, and sometimes they're not pleasant feelings. There's no good or bad feelings. Feelings just are. They teach us a lot, and we have to learn to live with them. And when they're pleasant, we need to enjoy them and know that we wouldn't want to survive without them. Know that we wouldn't want to survive without the happiness and the joy and being around people that are fun, and that, we go over to Misty's for gatherings, and what she calls them gatherings. And what it is, we all bring a little food. They have music. I'm the part of the audience. I'm not musical, but they sing and we dance, and that is a highlight. That is in our community. And they're even thinking about starting a gathering on Saturday, in the future, for a spiritual gathering, a short, like a little church service, but more of a spirituality type thing. Anyway, we couldn't survive without feelings and knowing how to deal with feelings. And the truth is that God gave us that whole range of feelings because we're humans, we're human beings. And He gave us both pleasure, pain, and emotional wellness is about embracing your full emotional experience and finding skills. That's what you learn in treatment, and that's what you learn in coming to the 4-day, is skills in how to cope with those feelings and how to deal with them when they're painful or when they're intense. And two of the most, and you hear us talking about this all the time, in order to deal with your feelings, 2 of the most important things we have to have on board is some healthy self-esteem, or you're going to go around getting your little feelings hurt all of the time, and particularly if you don't know how to set healthy boundaries. Those 2 things are so essential in feeling our feelings and on the emotional side of healing. And remember, feelings are not facts, but feelings have to be addressed and see what the difference is. And what we do with our feelings is what makes the difference. Eleanor Roosevelt gave us this quote, that no one can hurt our feelings without our permission. I told you the other day that I got my little sensitive feelings hurt, and right now I cannot remember what I got them hurt over. Isn't that good? And I don't know, I don't get my feelings hurt anymore, and I can't remember what it was. But the thing about it, I let down a boundary, and that boundary, it was something that happened in my childhood that reminded me of whatever that was. When you get your feelings hurt, you mark it down. It went back to the core, to that little kid and that inner child, and that's who you have to protect. It is not anybody's business to protect your inner child but you. So when you let your little feelings get hurt, it damages that little inner child. So it's all about boundaries. Boundaries will not kill us, but not feeling them will. They will, if when we hold the feelings in, we break down in stress-related illness. It's when we hold them in and don't express them. And when we, it will turn to stress, and it will turn to anxiety, and it will turn to depression. Or we're the reverse, and we are ragers, or I was a rager, and we'll blow out those feelings on innocent people. And then what happens is then we get guilty, and we take that guilt on the inside, and that will break down into stress-related illnesses. So ask yourself now these questions, and I would encourage you to do the spot check inventory once a week. And that is, number 1, how are you feeling right now? Right this moment, how are you feeling? And check that out with yourself all throughout the day. Right this moment, how are you feeling? Write a feeling out the side. The second question is, what do I need to do in this moment? What do I need? We do have some needs that have to be met. If you have kids, you got to take care of them. If you have a house, tidy it up. If you have a job, go to it. And if you're on a job, get off the internet and do what, unless you're home for business, get off the phone, quit talking to your best friend, and find out what do you need to do on your job right now. And that will help that job situation that we talked about earlier. What do I need to do in this moment? Number 3, what small action can I take today to feed my soul? What small action can I take today to feed my soul? So how we do that, we do these 3 things, and when we do that, we are choosing to create our own reality. How am I feeling right now? What do I need in this moment? And what small action can I take today to feed my soul? And in doing those things, we have the opportunity to choose and create our own reality. Okay, anyone want to read your answers to your questions or have anything else that you want to share about this self-care inventory? How do you measure up?